This is Harry Gines, first black man of reparations in U.S. history. I'm coming here today to bring you a presentation that can be a gratification towards the author, Ralph Ellison. Ralph Ellison is someone who didn't get his just desserts. Technology just wasn't available to Ralph Ellison. I think that may have played a part. Other authors, Alfred Hitchcock, Rod Sterling. Actually, Ralph Ellison wasn't really in their category, but he got put more in a mystery or more of a horror type of atmosphere that was the trending at that time. So Ralph Ellison, who is the creator of The Invisible Man. Now, The Invisible Man, for the most part, you never see a sequel. There never was no sequel to The Invisible Man. I mean, he was, something that was of interest, but yet he never was in the category, even in horror, was he in the category of a Dracula or a Wolfman, Frankenstein. He was not with that. He always was something that was different because he was the Invisible Man. Now, with that, I will try to assist Ralph Ellison as I bring a perspective of 21st century as well as 20th century as far as him being a black man. So the actual part of The Invisible Man, like I said, it got all twisted up. It never was to be categorized with a horror film. But as copyrights or people who just feel they can put their own twist to things for profit, it's nothing wrong with that. It's just that in actuality, the book would be far different than what the movie would be. That's all I'm trying to say there. So I'm trying to bring the book version because that comes from the heart of a man. That's very important today, to know the heart, and the intent of people. With so much misunderstanding to everything that you find yourself believing in something that just might be symbolic, So keep all these things in mind as I bring to you Ralph Ellison, The Invisible Man. Now, who in particular could you find to be a part to say, he's an invisible man? What we have here is a Celtic. Now, in the era of Bill Russell and how you see the 20th century, those founders of basketball, as we look at modern times, not the founding basketball, but Bill Russell was, a black man who came into the NBA. The NBA accepted Bill Russell, and he played with a predominantly white team in the time of segregation. So he walked through the society of America as an invisible man and a wealthy man. But yet still, when we speak of Ralph Ellison, who was trying to depict the black man, irregardless to his wealth, that meant nothing. You were a black man. So you were in a box for how you walked through the world. You weren't welcome in certain places to dine or to even, get a motel room. Those things weren't available to the invisible man. So those are things when we start to look at people, as they are the invisible man. Now that can affect a lot of things. Like I said, people do things symbolically as if it has, a life or death. I'm so grounded in my perspective that it's something that they feel they need to put their lives on the line. I don't know, but they can't be twisted. That is the invisible man. Once something is shown to you, but yet the invisible man somehow gets in there and have you believing your own mind must be right and what I'm looking at must be wrong. The invisible man is there. Yes, and there's many perspectives out here right now. You know, as you see Nike, yes, we have a Nike. You know, and I mentioned Bill Russell. You see, well, these people, you know, go through society of America as the invisible man. Yes, society you can't always buy your way through, especially in the era of Bill Russell. Now, if we came into the 21st century, you know, there are a lot of privileges that, you know, we take for granted that we can do as we will and anywhere we will. You see, that in itself, it's not a matter of a respect thing, it's just an inappropriate place to be doing certain things. Yes, there must be something appropriate or inappropriate, depending where you may find yourself doing something. Yes, let's get straight to the meat of it, in taking a knee. And I've mentioned this before, you know, but the invisible man, because you feel you have a right to do anything you want to do whenever you want to do it, you know, could be inappropriate. You see, because people didn't come to see that. And I've said that repeatedly on other videos, but it just keeps mushrooming. And symbolically, that invisible man comes in and have you believing that you have a right to do anything you want to do, any place you want to do it. Keep that in mind. That is a very accurate way of looking at the knee. That's what it says. Now, we know your intent. Your intent is based on police misconduct, you know, understood, okay? But in history, as it could be told, whoever lived through it may not see it as you do. We're all living through this. But yet, that invisible man comes in and makes everybody want to jump on a page of their own thinking, their own psyche, has to be a right enforced on people who didn't come to see something. See, that, no, that type of a right that you're saying to do could be looked at in many ways. You know, because there's a movie, you know, and that movie was Black Sunday. Make sure you're starring Robert Shaw, you know, completely fictional, but yet if you really want to live in that type of environment that Robert Shaw brought to the big screen, you need to really think of the environment that you're doing something that could be taken as inappropriate. You see, because that's all it takes is just, you know, these stadiums, you know, today are just massive. I mean, what, maybe 70,000 is maybe like an average, you know, 70,000 people, you know, that could really be something, you know, that you want to have as much precaution to as possible. I'm sure everybody would agree with that. It can be a reaction to something that you may not have intended for it, but yet, you know, playing a joke in a theater, yelling fire, is inappropriate. You see, so it kind of fits more into that kind of area of being somewhere with that invisible man thinking that you can do anything you want to do wherever you want to do it. That's an invisible man thinking. There's no law to that. You know, everybody has a right for space, you know, to have what was on the card. What was the program supposed to be about? Hold on. You see, so make sure you understand that people are, you know, looking at things far different than the invisible man thinking. That's all. You know, if nothing never happens, well, nothing happened in the beginning of even taking a knee in the sense of just actually taking the knee. Okay, get on the knee. Now get up off the knee. Now you tell me what's different. You see, that's the point I'm trying to make. If it doesn't do anything, you know, I mean, it's no more different than somebody saying deuces. It is symbolic. That's all. Now, if you're trying to put your life on the line, in a sense of causing disturbances, of taking a knee that could be taken as appropriate or inappropriate, that is what I'm trying to say to you. Now, just hold on one second. I'm going to bring something to your attention, because we all have prayer, but yet America, it's like a melting pot when you start talking about faith and religion. So prayer, even that, has been removed from the school. So once again, you're still doing something in a society that has removed it from the school, but here you go, trying to bring it where it was already trying to get away from, because your religious faith and belief is different. Look, it's different than somebody else. A Jew and a Muslim, a Christian and a Jew, come on, it's all different in that invisible man thinking. Yes. The invisible man will have you thinking that your religion is all that matters. You see, so always remember, Ralph Ellison, it was like tunnel vision for him. That's what he was trying to depict, how people walk, as the black man walks through societies, but nobody really sees him. They know he's there. No one knows. No, he's definitely a reality, but yet in care, he had not even enough care to even be focused on. The path must be clear. The invisible man must learn to step out of the way and step back in. You just don't, get in white people's way. That was the invisible man. That's how it was. So Ralph Ellison wanted the world to see how a black man felt. You see, that he already had a lot of restraints on him. So now you have a situation where people feel like the knee is nothing more than somebody taking a cross, the sign of the cross. It's symbolic, okay? It don't belong in the history books just because someone found it and we know who now made the sign of the cross, or wait a minute. Matter of fact, if you look back in Jesus' day, and I don't mean to be preaching, but I'm just simply saying, if you look back in his day, okay, it's almost as if in taking a knee that you're willing to say the same things that the Christians said at the time of following Jesus Christ. So are you a Christian? If you said you was a Christian in Jesus Christ's time, that was a death wish, and it will come true. You see, so always keep that in mind, because in making that comparison of taking a knee, all you have to understand is this. They then took the Pledge of Allegiance out of the school. So, and you taking a knee, I'm just saying, if somebody would have asked you, would you take the Pledge of Allegiance? What would your answer be? That's all I'm saying to you. And I'm not yelling at you. No, I just want to make you feel that point. If someone were to ask you that question, always remember, everything has its consequences, and the invisible man is present to tell you these things. The invisible man will have you thinking, but not really thinking at all, because like I said, it's plenty of them folded at the time of Jesus Christ trying to say, I got your back. Yeah, they had his back all right. When it really came down to it and he started laying it down, what? Are you a follower of Jesus? See, yeah, many of them folded. You see, if that's what they wanted to do, so be it. But the ones who said they wasn't, they lived out their life just by denying it. And Jesus said so. You will deny me. You see, so always remember that it may not be enough pressure on you to realize your consequences to your act. That's all. It could be coming, but make sure you say now that you're down. That's what my understanding is. Okay? Because like I said, it's a very simple question. And the visible man, when he comes, you won't see it. because no one told you. By me being the brother that I am, you would rather not believe me, but wait till what happened. I'm not trying to say I'm one of them type of guys that, how you say, I told you so. No, I'm not even like that. I'm being brotherly. I know what these speeches about. I'm putting you up. But now you want to look at something like somebody always trying to be the bad guy with you. No, you say you don't want nothing sugar-coated. I ain't got nothing sweet about it. Nothing. Ain't nothing around me sweet the way you say you don't want no sugar on it. You always say, no, he's sugar-coating. I ain't sugar-coating. All I'm trying to say is, you want to be woke? Yeah. Okay. Remember that. It's a question. Stay calm, because the question might be presented to you in a fashion more aggressive. So be prepared. That's all I'm trying to say to people. If you believe that invisible man thinking and you're really willing to go that far, like I said, it was nothing more than deuces. Something symbolic. When you get up off your knee, same thing. Ain't nothing changed. So you can get caught up with it all you want. But let me move forward a little bit, because the invisible man dates way back, and I already done told you, when you're dealing in the area of history, when history has already shown you something, it may not be as simple as you think, because there's consequences with everything, especially if you're doing something out in public. Again, out in public, people burn the American flag, stuff like that. Win the case, having the right to burn the American flag. To me, it's a lot simpler. The invisible man can come, but in his way, all you have to realize is, to get around the invisible man is to know one thing. If you don't like America, you are a free man. You always talk about your icons, but you don't even measure up to try to duplicate the things that somebody did from the 19th century. You can't even duplicate that. You got plenty of money. I know you do. Why don't you get a ship or something? You don't do nothing. LeBron James, more power to you, man. You the greatest thing I done seen since Martin Luther King. And I made a mistake on social media leaving out T.I. T.I. ain't forgotten. I got you live right now. Y'all done something, man, I ain't never seen in my life. You, LeBron James, T.I., that is what I'm talking about. Economics and showing the power of the dollar. Make no doubt, you can play around with all that neat, but this is a time when you should recognize one thing: the invisible man. And he ain't gonna go when he already laid foundation in the early schools, the early grade schools, the high schools, all the way up. Nobody can deal with something as a right to, as they say, the separation between church and state. All of that is still kind of tied to your actions of a need. Okay, you praying. You're still outside the home. You see, however way you want to try to defend that need, it has consequences to it if done in an inappropriate place. That's what I'm saying to you. That ain't gonna change. Keep jumping down on it, but when you own it and they then move you to the back, because you didn't get to the back, now it's time for some questioning. Are you prepared? I just told you about Jesus and the people that were supposed to have his back. Okay. Can you say that you would not take the Pledge of Allegiance? That's all I want to know. If asked, could you say you wouldn't take it? That's all. Because at this point, now the consequences change completely. You don't have a law to that need. See, I'm not just trying to point out something for you not to do. You keep doing it. but you need to have a little law up under you. That would help the situation when the time comes. You see, because as a non-citizen, you have certain rights. As a U.S. citizen, you have certain rights. But see, you need to be sure of one thing. Taking that knee represents more than what you just wanted to intend. Because there are the invisible man people looking at you and are very interesting to know. Yes, very interesting to know. We know what it represents. We know what it represents. You know, more power to it. But at the same token, make sure you are ready to answer one question. That's all I'm saying. Look at me and saying, you know, I'm one of them I told you so type people. No, I'm not. No sugar, no coke, none of that. We beyond it now. You know what I'm about, trying to help somebody. No, this ain't inspiring. I told y'all, I'm not here to inspire. May not even be a role model. You see, because you don't want it that way. I am the way I am because Yahweh is the way Yahweh is. So, you know, you made me like this. Yes. You don't want no sugar, no coke. You won't get it from me. Remember that. But as I keep going with my presentation in this invisible man, let's go back a little bit. You know, so maybe we might be able to clear up some things as far as history with this invisible man thinking that you have. Now, I'm still with Ralph Ellison. I'm still here. The invisible man is here. Now, what we have in fine arts, but yet the invisible man can reach a black history within fine arts, even from a European painter, Diego Vasquez. Remember the name, Diego Vasquez. This is the artist who painted this. This is Prince Belazar Carlos. That's who this is. He's a young boy, the Prince Belazar Carlos, on horseback. Now, again, the invisible man, black history, how is that tied to Prince Belazar Carlos? Painted by Diego Vasquez. How does that tie? Now, again, on social media, I was just scrolling, as I normally do, and come across a black woman, Miss London, who had an interest in horses. And I knew that this presentation could be done, even tying her tweet to our history of our past. Keep in mind this. In the era, we've already talked about Bill Russell, but that was actually nothing. There was once upon a time, like I said, Vasquez was accepted as an old master before he aged to be that title. In other words, he was sought after by rich people. Rich people wanted Vasquez to do anything that they can envision. Because, again, we're dealing with the invisible man. So even they had entertainment or wanted to be immortal through the arts. You see, so in doing that, again, how am I going to get black history out of the European painting? Because the world needs to know Vasquez was a mulatto. That needs to be known. But as the invisible man thinking, you will always think that there is no old master like Rembrandt's, Picasso's, you see, Monet, you see, the Monet, these artists, and going back further, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, they're the ones that set the standard, the bar in fine arts. But yet, here comes Vasquez being in the running with Rembrandt, you know, who was on top of his game in that era. Yes. But like I said, he was a mulatto. I will repeat that. He was a black man in fine arts, sought by rich people of that era. You see, if you had a gift or a trade, and definitely fair of skin, you could handle yourself in that society based on your trade. You see, so we have Vasquez, we have him, and that invisible man has now come to light. I brought that to you. But again, the shock to me, actually, like I said, I'm still speaking also to Miss London. The shock, I knew I could do this presentation because if I only had one, that's all I needed to be a black woman and to have an interest in horses in the 21st century. No, I don't know anybody. No, I don't know anybody black that has an interest in a horse. I just don't know anybody. I'm sorry. You know, so by you having that interest and you being that one, I wish to thank you sincerely, because we now know the education, the misrepresentation within the fine arts industry. You see, because it's very difficult for blacks, period, in that industry to get the same recognition. You see, but we have a black man that can show the skill level of whether it would win, but it can be part of the contest against a Rembrandt. You see, that's very important, you know, to be in that chain. Like I said, that chain goes all the way back to Leonardo da Vinci, you know, the Royal Academy of Arts. That's where they all went to school. And Vasquez, coming out of them schools, did pretty well, you know, very sought after by rich people. Now, where is the history? Okay, he's a black man. Okay, that's good. But that don't make him in history. You see, based on the painting. That is what we would have to understand. What is this here, where I'm speaking on black history? Okay, he was a black man. That's what happens with the invisible man thinking that because you're the first of something automatically means that you're supposed to be somebody. No, other than just being the first, that doesn't really mean anything unless you do something. You see, me bringing this presentation to you, I'm doing something. I'm speaking about our ancestors. You always on here, everybody. No, not talking to you, dear Miss London. I wasn't talking to you like that. But I'm just saying there are people on here that's always on here talking about their ancestors. But when you start to name them, we must find ourselves within the ancestors with messages, because they would want you to do better. You see, they don't want you just to be able to duplicate, they want you to surpass. And that is all connected. You know, this was the technology of that era. Yes. Now, the Black History part. Her interest was in her horse. Now, some people would say, but this is a fictional horse. You know, there's no horse that looks like that. Well, how could that even, why would I want a horse like that? You want a horse like that? You know, he's fat, can't move. You know, that doesn't look like a horse that you normally see. Yes. But again, a black man was sending you something in a message through the invisible man, how the horse is connected to your black history. The prince is showing you, and he represents war. That is what he represents. He has his scroll, you know, treaty, saber in his hand. He represents war, as in conquering, you see. Now, still with it, there's a myth, legend, culture that has plagued our people for centuries. And that myth was that Hannibal, and I call it a myth, which is myth is a lie. Okay? You don't want no sugarcoat, remember. The Hannibal War that he came across, as you can look in the background, there is a mountain range. This is where Hannibal would have come with his elephants. It's a myth. I call it a lie. You looking at your ancestors' horse. That is the black history that I'm bringing because I found one black woman. Thank God. I ain't religious, but I'm just saying, thank God that I found one black woman who would be interested in knowing some history because I am a historian. Yes. So in being so, that you would be able to pass on facts. That's what you can pass on. You ain't got to live in these myths with these invisible thinkings, of the invisible man who will have you believing that Hannibal crossed a mountain range with elephants. No, stop that. Because you're in the 21st century now. Certain myths you need to let go of. It ain't possible. And especially, it barely was enough room for a man to walk across, let alone, an elephant. No. Coming from Africa, crossing mountain ranges, no. Again, the horse represents, as the prince holds in victory, war. That's what it's about. So always remember that. Your people, our people, fought. Black and white people fought. That's what happened at war. Hannibal did that. He took it to him. That's history. But the myth and the joke that has you believe it that he came across with some elephants, like I told you, for the most part, when a black man speaks to a black man, he won't believe it. Another black man can't tell another black man nothing because he won't believe it now. If a white boy come to you, you all ears. Ain't that right? See, that's what I'm trying to tell you. This is the stallion that your ancestors came across the mountains on. That's what I'm saying to you. That's a fact. That horse is part goat, part hog, part rat. It's mixture of everything. It is an extinct animal. He is a prehistoric. That's what he is. He's prehistoric. And as when you're trying to retreat, you're losing everything. You're losing everything. You're just trying to get out of there. But you made a point. You came, but you didn't win, and you got scattered on your way back. And you left some stallions. Now these stallions settled in the land of Exmoorland. It's a land. Yes, kind of where the Rembrandt, era where he frequent. The moorlands, the ex-moorland. Remember that. This horse, stallion, does exist today. You can Google it. They're called the Exmoor. The Exmoor stallion. That is what your ancestors, Hannibal, came across the mountains on. You see, that's what happens when the invisible man changes your way of knowing what is fact and what is myth. You see, and all that is all coming back into the 21st century. You have to stop thinking certain ways. As long as you think in certain ways, the invisible man will always have his way of altering your thinking to affect history. Like I said, taking a knee knowing your ancestors, knowing Jesus Christ, knowing the consequences, that's all a pull-up coming from Harry Gimes. Because I don't agree with it, doesn't mean I'm trying to be a foe. And another thing, keep this in mind, because you got on your knees, don't mean that your foe gonna let up on you because you on your knees. Where do they do that at? I mean, you're a foe. So you being on your knees is not a very good position to be in. I don't like, no, I'm not going to, you won't see it. You'll never see it. You know, I see no reason. You might as well put me in the ground. Why should I? It's only something symbolic. You know, it can't be. You know, those are myths that create legends that turn into culture, which is all originated to a lie in the first place. You see, so the Invisible Man did a very good job, you know, with Hannibal, making him a laughing stock, you know, amongst his people, that the people could be so easily twisted in the Invisible Man thinking, easily twisted. And for centuries, you know, they've been the laughing stock to continue that story. Yeah, he came over with some elephants and ran back the other way. You know, no, he made a good presence. And his history is more believable within the land of Exmoorland. The Exmoorland region that has these stallions, you know, I don't know. I just feel like maybe I want to own one. You know, I don't know. But I'm very fascinated with the heart's, you know, interest in Miss London. I'm very, very interested that you would post that. And thank you again, you know, because I had no way of bringing The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison to the world. And with that, I'm going to leave you all in that you might see that a different perspective of your own might be something that you might be able to use. Matter of fact, hold that thought. I was trying to give you some law, you know, so in that perspective, you know, you will not believe that when people speak about the Nation of Islam, okay, their founder being the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you know, when we start, you know, speaking on people, like I said, Vasquez was an invisible man. The Elijah Muhammad is an invisible man. Yes, he was invisible, because that happens when you shun an icon. For decades now, you've done that. You made him invisible. You know, so now that you could possibly use something, the opportunity presents itself. Because Elijah Muhammad also was one who stood up. Now listen, one man, okay, that he don't even appear in your history books. When you started speaking about somebody so courageous of taking a knee versus the Elijah Muhammad who stood up to the United States, far different than even Ali. These are single individuals taking on the most powerful government in the world. Now you got a knee. I'm sorry, your comparisons to go in history when you have icons that are invisible because you don't recognize something that could be used for you. They're invisible. Yes, they're very much invisible, and you really should give some thought to the good attributes that the Elijah Muhammad left in foundation for you as a non-citizen. And you don't have to, look, you don't have to, you know, be a member of the Nation of Islam. You don't have to. You know, what Elijah Muhammad brought, he brings to everybody. You see, no one can disagree with that. You know, especially here in the 21st century, you don't have to be a member of the Nation of Islam. But remember that someone tried to give you something that you shunned, in turn makes them an invisible man. So you have erased history. That is what you do. The same thing happened to Vasquez, who, as a black man, how did it happen? Time passes, you know, him being a Caucasian, he becomes accepted as one of them. But in all actuality, many know that he was a mulatto. Okay, so same thing. They're invisible as time passes. Everything changes. The Elijah Muhammad, everything changes. And then they become invisible. You see, their thinkings, their doctrines, their teachings, by being shunned, who they was, what did they do for a people? Like I just said, that is something that is historic to be able to reject. Yes, military service. The Elijah Muhammad did that. He rejected it. Now, do you know anybody that does that? How many people did you know, reject military service? You might say a draft dodger, but he didn't even dodge it. He said he don't want nothing to do with it. That's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful. Now, I'm just saying, for you to make the Elijah Muhammad invisible, in your history, in Vasquez that never appears, yes, they're invisible. And that's something that you need to start educating your people on the good attributes. Again, Harry Gines is someone. I'm Harry Gines, first man of reparations, in U.S. history. That's true. But yet, you may not like me either. You see, because like I said, everything has to be connected to something. I am not a member of the Nation of Islam. You cannot be a political person, any type of affiliation, religious preferences. All of that would make me biased to, or I would have preferences if I was tied to someone. You see, I am strong enough to stand on my own. I always could. If you've been just a little bit of I'm a long shot. I'm a long shot, but I've always liked my odds. I can't help it. I like to defy. That's in me. I would defy all odds. I will not lay down. And it's documented as far as me being an invisible man. You can believe that too. Because I know if you don't like the Elijah Muhammad and you don't know of Vasquez, chances are you may not like Harry Gines either. You may not even give him a chance. But when you're on that knee, I'm not the bad guy. I'm trying to give you something. Like the Elijah Muhammad tried to give you something. Like Vasquez tried to give you something. Everybody has their own choices. Yes, I'm for that. And like I said, I am not a person to come back and say, well, I told you so. No, that's not what it's about. It's about preparing yourself. Know what you're going up against, because your foe and you in that knee don't mean he's going to let up off of you. Why should you take your foe that's on a knee and give it what? Mercy? When did that start happening? So be careful when you're doing stuff like that, because some people may not even understand what you're doing. That's also a military position. Yes, remember that. Know everything you're doing. Because in someone's mind, being an invisible man, here come that thinking again. They already said so many times that they thought they was going for something. Well, you dropped down to a knee. He didn't know what you was coming up with. Hey, who's to say that invisible man thinking, that fear can set in from the invisible man and have that person actually believing it and trying to sell it to you, that they have that fear. You see, fear is something that can be the invisible man. Yes, always remember that. It is something that's there, but you just can't put your hand on it. Yes, it's invisible. Always remember that. Now, I'm going to have to leave right now, but I just want you to know it was a very good time spent. It was very much worth my time. If I enlightened you in any way, my art collection, is my pride. I'm, like I said, I am a historian, and today I brought something to you as a gift. Always remember that I'm trying to give you something. I'm not trying to inspire you. You may not want to walk the walk I have, okay? I wouldn't recommend it. I really wouldn't. But, like I said, it's to help. I commend T.I. and LeBron James. Those are the type of people I could literally work for you for nothing. I really could. I mean, I just would want to be on the team, man, because, what y'all doing, I've never seen that before. You mean you like the Invisible Man. You're doing things that no one's ever seen. That is history and worthy. Far more than taking a knee, which is only like deuces. That's all that is. You're not coming symbolic at all. You're putting it on the line, stepping your game up. That T.I. and LeBron James, man, y'all some hell of a cats, man. Ain't never seen it in my lifetime. I've never seen that. Keep in mind, look, there are plenty of entertainers that donate money. There's plenty of them. But when they start taking the money out of their pocket and being general contractors and all that, that's what's up, man. That's really big that you want to be involved in that all the way through. You can call some contractors, make sure things are going right. Those are the type of people I'm talking about, that I would want to be part of. Those kinds of people that can make a difference. Now, I want to add to that point again of where I was going was, say, Jerry, here we go with the Invisible Man thinking again. Because you give money or something, you believe that you think you should be in the history books because look, there's no one more deserving than Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis, I could bet, had more money donated than anybody in the world as far as generating money, and that he had that telethon thing going every year. So I don't think anybody has ever donated, or generated those kinds of monies before, like a Jerry Lewis. But Jerry Lewis ain't even in the history books. So putting everybody in the history books, look, I'm sorry, until the need unfolds itself from a reaction, something, as they say, cause and effect, it has to be something connected to it that happens. Nothing happens getting on your knee, then getting up off of it. So, what I'm trying to say is, make sure you understand the point of having law behind it. It's so simple. The Elijah Muhammad, like I said, he, dealt with the 13th Amendment, head on. Harry Guys versus United States comes behind that with his own case, in law, you see, using case law, and that's another thing. Sometimes, if you're reading pieces, you never really read an actual, Westlaw case from the Elijah Muhammad. I've never read one, that he filed, like Muhammad Ali. I've never read his case, I've never read his case, but I have read Fred Hampton's wife. That's the problem. And if you Google, you'll find out, Fred Hampton being killed could never have a case. You see, so that's where people get things a little twisted up. With that Invisible Man, you go running into the library and look up a Fred Hampton case, he doesn't have a case. But your thinking of your question that you're trying to ask for will never get you the results because he was deceased. It was his wife, Fred Hampton's wife, and she should be deserving, to be known. Look that up. I'm not going to tell you. You do it. Look it up. Look up Fred Hampton's wife. That will put you on the path of what took place, because she would be the only person left around to do that. But her name doesn't ring. People keep thinking about Fred Hampton, Fred Hampton, Fred Hampton. We know Fred, but that Invisible Man thinking just got us stuck right there. When there was someone coming behind Fred, which was his wife. Yes, had some travels with Fred Hampton Jr. We crossed paths, in our lifetime. Very interesting, to say the least, to be around someone like that, to actually tell stories, He was just a boy, but he had a very sharp as a tack. I mean, he really was something to be around. I was older than him, but yet I knew that he looked just like his father. I mean, totally identical to his father. And yeah, he was really impressed me, because like I said, I was older than him when we crossed paths. But an age thing was he brought a lot to the table. Believe me, Fred Hampton Jr. more power, man. You know, but I'm going to leave y'all with that, and I hope that our presentation was something that any misunderstandings, you know, please always understand that I am only here and meant to help. That is what my intent is. Because if you're not looking from all perspectives, you're caught up in that invisible man thinking, you know, we must stop doing that. Okay? So I'll be around, y'all. Y'all ain't got to worry about it. I'll be around. Okay? So y'all take care, man.